A mother's vengeance for her daughter. After 10 years undercover, I finally dismantled the entire drug trafficking ring. The day I returned to my true identity, amidst a welcoming crowd, the one I longed for most was absent: my daughter. My husband pointed to a gaudily dressed girl and told me, "That's our daughter. She's living in the penthouse apartment I bought her, using the supplementary credit card I gave her. The password is her birthday." The bills showed she'd spent 300 million dong just last week, but even the tiny mole near her eye wasn't right. I smirked, pulling out my gun and pointing it directly between her eyes. 3 seconds, tell me where my daughter is. My aim isn't as bad as my memory. Or rather, after 10 years of undercover work, I took down the biggest drug trafficking organization. The day I returned as Lin Zio, the sun was blinding. Colleagues from the special task force came to pick me up. Even my husband, Ethan, was there. Only the one I longed for most was missing. "Lily," Ethan said, pointing to a strange girl. She was heavily made up and wore too much perfume. "Zio Lin, this is Lily. She's grown so much." I stared at her at the corner of her eye with no mole. My daughter had a tiny mole at the outer corner of her left eye. I remembered it perfectly. I smiled, raised the gun, and pressed it against her forehead. Cold metal against warm skin. 3 seconds, tell me where my Lily is. My shooting skills have never wavered like my memory. The girl shrieked in terror. Ethan lunged forward, his face ashen. "Zio Lin, you're crazy, that's Lily." I ignored him. My eyes were fixed on the necklace around the girl's neck. A platinum chain with a pendant I had designed myself. Inside, it held Lily's first baby tooth. My fingers began to count down. 3. The girl trembled uncontrollably. "I'll tell you," she choked out, on the verge of tears. Ethan tried to snatch the gun from my hand, but I spun around, ramming my elbow into his chest. He groaned, stumbling back 2 steps. After 10 years undercover, my skills were no longer what he remembered. 2. My voice was cold and emotionless. The girl collapsed completely. She's at the Morning Star Rehabilitation Center, outside the city. The Morning Star Rehabilitation Center, I'd heard that name before. It was a detention center for problem children, notorious for its harshness and terrifyingly high death rate. My heart constricted as if squeezed by an icy hand. Why was my daughter, my precious Lily, in a place like that? I holstered my gun, hiding it behind my back. The girl slumped to the floor, boneless. Ethan's face was a mixture of panic and anger. "Zio Lin, let me explain." I kicked him away with my foot. "Get out of my way." I rushed out of the penthouse apartment. As the elevator descended, I called Chief Zhang. "Chief Zhang, help me find out about the Morning Star Rehabilitation Center, its address, manager, and full access to all surveillance cameras. I need it immediately." On the other end, Chief Zhang replied without hesitation. "I'll send all access to your phone within 5 minutes. Zio Lin, you..." I hung up. I didn't have time to listen to his concerns. In the basement parking garage, a black SUV sat silently. It was the vehicle assigned specifically to me by the Special Bureau. I opened the door and got in. The engine roared, a suppressed growl of a wild beast. The car sped out of the garage, merging into traffic. My phone vibrated, Chief Zhang's encrypted file. Address, person in charge, blueprints, internal structure, everything was there, even a direct link to the live surveillance system. I tapped it. Rows of small surveillance windows appeared on the screen. Hallways, common rooms, isolation cells, cold, suffocating. I scrutinized each frame, my hands trembling. I was terrified of seeing what I didn't want to see. "My Lily, Mom is coming, just wait a little longer." The car hurtled down the highway. Wind shrieked through the gaps like the wails and cries of countless souls. Finally, I spotted a blind spot in the surveillance feed. No, not a blind spot. Someone had covered the camera lens with cloth. But I recognized the room number on the door, 307. It was a severe illness isolation room. My heart stopped for a second. I floored the accelerator. The SUV, like a black bullet, streaked towards the outskirts. At last, the Morning Star Rehabilitation Center loomed into view. Its white walls towered high, encircled by a dense network of high-voltage wires. It looked exactly like a prison. Security guards at the gate tried to stop me. I maintained my speed. A deafening crash. I drove straight through, tearing apart the reinforced iron gate. The screech of twisted metal was ear-splitting. I surged forward. The front of the car slammed into a flower bed and halted. I opened the door and stepped out. Several men in uniform rushed towards me, electric batons in hand. Who gave you permission to barge into the Morning Star Center? I remained silent, quickly drawing the gun I'd hidden behind my back, its dark muzzle pointed directly at them. Instantly, they all froze. I advanced towards the central white building, heading straight for room 307. My footsteps were resolute, yet each felt like I was treading on razor blades. The door to room 307 was locked tight. I raised my leg and delivered a powerful kick. Crack! The door burst open, slamming violently against the wall with a dry thud. Inside, the room was pitch black, its windows boarded up with planks. The air was thick with the stench of dampness and disinfectant. In a secluded corner, a frail figure was huddled on an iron bed. Lily, with just a glance I recognized her. Though her body was now impossibly emaciated, her hair dry and yellowed like a tangled mess of weeds. She wore an oversized patient gown, and her wrists and ankles bore deep marks from restraints. At the sound, she startled, looking up. Her eyes, once sparkling like stars, now held only emptiness and terror. She looked at me, her lips trembling but unable to form words. In that instant, tears streamed down my face. For 10 years, struggling between life and death, I hadn't shed a single tear. Yet now I sobbed like a child. I stepped forward, kneeling before her. "Lily, it's Mom." My voice was hoarse, trembling so much I barely recognized it. Mom's back. Her vacant eyes stirred slightly. As if gathering every last ounce of strength, she reached out to me. Her hand was covered in needle marks. I clasped her icy, bony hand. It was nothing but skin and bones. I pulled her close, embracing her tightly. She was as light as a feather. I felt her faint breaths and the irregular, rapid pounding of her small heart in her chest. I hurriedly unbuttoned her patient gown. Before my eyes, a fresh, long scar stretched from her sternum down to her lower abdomen. It looked like a terrifying centipede crawling across her skin. My whole body shivered with a cold dread. I clutched her tightly and rushed out of the room. The group waiting outside the door tried to rush me. Clutching my daughter tightly, I swept my gun across them. "Who dares to stop me? I'll shoot them dead." I placed Lily in the back seat. Then I drove at the highest possible speed to the best private hospital in the city. This was the very hospital where I had once risked my life to gain the power and resources I now commanded. I stopped the car directly in front of the emergency entrance. The hospital director himself led a team of people waiting there. When he saw Lily in my arms, his expression instantly changed. "Hurry, prepare an operating room, call all specialists immediately." Lily was rushed into the emergency room, the red critical alert light flashing. I stood in the hallway, covered in blood, some of it theirs, some of it mine. When I broke down the door, my arm was scraped, but I felt no pain. All my senses were focused on that tightly closed door. A few hours later, the door opened. The director stepped out, removing his mask, his face grave. "Officer Lin, the situation is very bad. The child has suffered from prolonged malnutrition, has numerous soft tissue contusions, and severe psychological trauma. Most importantly, her heart. Half of her pericardium has been removed." My mind went completely blank. The pericardium. Years ago, to protect her congenitally weak heart, I had scrambled everywhere, pulling every string just to smuggle an experimental gene therapy drug from abroad. That drug could stimulate the regeneration of heart muscle and the pericardium. It was what saved my daughter's life. So why was it gone? Where was the medicine? Where was the gene therapy vial I left behind? I grabbed the director's hand, squeezing tight. The director sighed. "That medicine was taken by your husband, Ethan, a month ago. He said it was for Lily. We checked the records. The girl was indeed named Sophia, the same name as your daughter." Sophia, that imposter, I understood everything now. Not only had they stolen my daughter's identity, but they had also stolen her life-saving medicine. A bitter, metallic taste surged into my throat. The world went black before my eyes. When I woke again, I was in a hospital room. Chief Zhang was sitting by the bed, his face filled with worry. "You're awake, how do you feel?" I struggled to sit up. "Where's Lily?" "She's still in intensive care, but her condition is stable now." I let out a sigh of relief, but then an explosive, suffocating rage instantly erupted. I ripped out the IV needle in my arm. "I have to go back." "Zio Lin, calm down." Chief Zhang quickly held me back. "Calm down." "How can you tell me to calm down? My daughter almost died. The medicine that keeps her alive was stolen. How can I be calm?" My voice grew hoarse, like the screech of a wild beast deep in the forest. Chief Zhang remained silent. He knew my past too well, knew how much Lily meant to me. After a while, he finally released me. I'll send someone with you. No need. I stood up straight, my eyes icy. This is my personal matter. I changed into my clothes and walked out of the hospital room. My family, the place I had exchanged 10 years of my youth, my blood, and my very life to protect, had ultimately betrayed me in the most terrible way. I returned to the penthouse apartment. The door was unlocked. I pushed it open and entered. The living room was completely empty. I went straight to Lily's room. The room I had once meticulously decorated like a pink fairytale castle. Now it was plastered with idle posters. Expensive brand-name boxes were scattered haphazardly across the floor. And that imposter girl, Sophia, was sprawled on Lily's bed, wearing a face mask, headphones on, comfortably enjoying music. Ethan sat beside the bed, peeling an apple. When he saw me, he froze. Sophia also jolted awake in fright. "You, what are you doing back here?" I ignored her, silently stepping further into the room. My gaze fell on the bedside cabinet. On it sat an insulated box for medicine. Inside was the last vial of gene therapy I had prepared for Lily. The vial was empty. The medicine was gone, used on that imposter girl. I laughed out loud. A bitter, sarcastic laugh that brought tears to my eyes. My phone rang. It was the hospital. "Officer Lin, Miss Lily's heart is showing severe signs of rejection. We need the gene therapy urgently to stabilize her condition." I hung up. My eyes slowly, little by little, shifted to Ethan and Sophia. That gaze was like a poisoned blade, cold and sharp. Both of them deserved to die. Ethan's face suddenly turned ashen. He jumped up, shielding Sophia. "Zio Lin, let me explain. Lily, she suffers from a very severe antisocial personality disorder. We sent her to the rehabilitation center thinking it was for her future. Because she injured Sophia, I and everyone else reluctantly had to use the medicine for Sophia." What lies? The moment he opened his mouth, it was full of deceit. My Lily, ever since she was little, was gentle, soft-spoken. She would cry for hours even if she accidentally stepped on an ant. Antisocial personality disorder? How ridiculous. I advanced towards them, step by step. The click of my heels echoed on the floor, each sound like a punch to their cowardly hearts. Thinking of her future, so you threw her into hell for others to dissect her organs? Thinking of her future, so you let an imposter take her bed, spend her money, and use her life-sustaining medicine? My voice was very soft, but it was that gentle tone that made Ethan tremble all over. I never expected things to turn out like this. The people from the rehabilitation center said they were very professional. Professional? I sneered coldly. Professional enough to torture someone until they're barely clinging to life. I stopped directly in front of him, raised my hand, and gently stroked his face. His skin was well cared for, a stark contrast to my own, covered in wounds and scars. "Ethan, you truly disgust me." I pulled my hand back, then swung it with full force, a resounding slap that echoed throughout the room. His head snapped to one side, his cheek instantly turning red. He stared at me, eyes wide, unable to believe it. You dared to hit me?" "Hit you?" I grabbed his collar tightly, yanking him close. "Today, I won't just hit you. I want your life." From behind, Sophia screamed loudly. "Murder, help me. Someone's killing me." I didn't turn around. My gaze remained fixed on Ethan. Those eyes that once enchanted me now held only terror and calculation. 10 years, I spoke. "In the 10 years I was absent, is this how you looked after our daughter? Every month I sent you $1 million. What did you spend it on? I told you to find her the best teachers, the best doctors. Instead, you pushed her into hell." Ethan stammered, unable to form words. "Zio Lin, it's because she wouldn't study, she stole things, got into fights, even burned the maid's hair." "Is that so?" I let go of him, pulled out my phone, and played a video. It showed a young Lily cradling a small injured cat, gently bandaging its wound. Lily looked up, smiling at the camera, her eyes curved like crescent moons. The tear mole by her left eye was clearly visible. "I understand my daughter far better than you do." I turned off the video. "And what about you?" My gaze shifted to Sophia. "Who do you think you are? An imposter daring to sit in a position that doesn't belong to her." I advanced, grabbed her hair, and dragged her roughly off the bed. She shrieked in pain. I dragged her into the living room and threw her onto the floor. The platinum necklace around her neck glinted under the light. I reached out and yanked it hard. The chain snapped, and the pendant fell to the ground, bursting open. It was empty. Lily's baby tooth was gone. "Where's the tooth?" I demanded. Sophia clutched her neck, her eyes wide with terror as she looked at me. "What tooth? I don't know anything." "You don't know?" I knelt down, picked up the pendant, and clutched it in my hand. The cold, sharp metal dug into my palm, a searing pain. I remembered the day Lily's tooth fell out. She cried from the pain, yet handed me her tiny baby tooth, her voice choked. "Mommy, please keep it for me. This is my treasure." It was her treasure, and it was my treasure too. And now it was gone. The rage within me erupted, burning fiercely like a sky-high inferno. I snatched the fruit knife from the coffee table and pressed it against Sophia's face. "I'll ask again, where is the tooth?" Sophia was utterly terrified. "In the trash can. I felt it brought bad luck, so I threw it away." The trash can? My daughter's precious item, which she discarded like garbage. I suddenly laughed, the knife's blade gently touching her fair cheek, leaving a long, thin, bloody scratch. She winced in pain, letting out a small gasp, but dared not move. "Bad luck? Then today I'll show you what * real bad luck is." I grabbed her hand, pressed it firmly onto the tabletop, and raised the fruit knife. Ethan rushed over in a panic. "Lynn, don't be reckless. I've called the police." Called the police? He dared to call the police to arrest * me? I turned my head to look at him, my eyes glacial. "Excellent. I also want to see, when the police arrive, if they'll arrest me, a special police hero, or arrest you, a man who abused his daughter and colluded with outsiders to seize her assets." Ethan's face instantly went white. He had forgotten that I was no longer an undercover agent, forced to hide my identity and live in the shadows. I was Lin Zio, a special-grade hero of the Ministry of Public Security, a person respected by the entire city. He began to truly tremble. Zio, we're husband and wife. We've been together for 10 years. 10 years of marriage, 10 years of affection?" I looked at his hypocritical face, feeling nothing but profound disgust down to my bones. "The moment you pushed Lily into hell, only an unresolvable hatred remained between us." I didn't bother to look at him anymore. The knife in my hand swung down mercilessly. "Ah!" Sophia's ear-splitting scream echoed throughout the apartment. Her little finger was severed clean off by me, fresh blood splattering onto my face, hot and thick. Sophia clutched her hand, writhing on the floor, weeping hysterically. Ethan collapsed onto the ground, his face as white as paper. Just then the apartment door was kicked open. A middle-aged man in a police uniform, bearing the insignia of a first-grade superintendent on his shoulder, stormed in. It was Deputy Chief of City Police Zhao Donglai. Behind him were several Special Forces officers. Zhao Donglai's pupils contracted as he saw the scene in the room. "Lin Zio, stop!" he bellowed, his voice sharp and authoritative. I slowly stood up, wiping the blood from my face. "You've arrived at just the right time, Chief Zhao. We have 2 cursed individuals here who need to be dealt with." Zhao Donglai looked at Sophia lying on the floor with her severed finger, his face turning pale. "Cursed? Lin Zio, I think * you're the one who's gone mad. Do you even know who you've touched? She is Governor Su's daughter. You've only just regained your identity, and you've already caused such a major incident." So, she was Governor Su's daughter? I understood now. No wonder Ethan dared to act so recklessly. He had found a powerful patron. Ethan, as if grasping a lifeline, frantically crawled to Zhao Donglai's feet. "Chief Zhao, save me. She's crazy. She wants to kill me. She even abused Lily. She beat her until she was covered in bruises. We sent her to the Reform Center for her own good." Shamelessly twisting facts, utterly devoid of shame. Sophia also wept, pleading. "Uncle Zhao, save me. Her daughter, that psychopath, tortured me. I was only defending myself. She even wanted to kill me." "Spoke," the other echoed, perfectly coordinated. Zhao Donglai looked at me, his eyes filled with disappointment and anger. "Lin Zio, I am truly disappointed in you. You have rendered great service, and the state will not treat you unfairly. But your merits are not an excuse to abuse violence and disregard human life. Now, immediately put down your weapon and come with me to the station for investigation." Behind him, the special police officers raised their guns, pointing directly at me. I let out a laugh, a sarcastic, ice-cold laugh. "Investigation? Fine, but it won't be * me * coming with you to the station." I pulled out my phone and dialed a familiar number. "Hello, Black Panther. This is Lin Zio. I give you 10 minutes. Mobilize all forces under your command. Seal off the entire City A, especially all highways leading to the provincial capital. Without my order, not even a mosquito is allowed to leave. Inform the entire team. If anyone attempts to force their way through, shoot to kill without question." On the other end, a deep, calm, and decisive voice responded clearly, "Mission accomplished." I hung up. I looked directly at Zhao Donglai, his face now completely white. "Chief Zhao, currently in my capacity as a special inspector of the Ministry of Public Security, I suspect your involvement in an extremely serious case. including child abduction, intentional assault, and abuse of power, colluding unlawfully with Governor Sue and Ethan. Until the investigation concludes, neither you nor any of your subordinates are permitted to leave this place. As soon as I finished speaking, outside the window, urgent, rhythmic footsteps echoed. Simultaneously, the whirring of helicopter blades ripped through the sky. The Black Panther Special Operations Team has arrived, the most elite Special Forces unit in the country. This force was built by me personally. They are here. Zhao Donglai's face changed from green to white, then to purple. He looked at me, his eyes revealing sheer horror and disbelief. You dare to deploy Black Panther? This is a force directly under Central Command. By what authority? I didn't answer. A man in a black military uniform, his face painted with camouflage, descended from above. He smashed through the glass window, landing directly in front of everyone, steady as a mountain. It was the Black Panther leader, codenamed Black Panther. He saluted me with perfect military precision. Reporting Team Leader Lin. The Black Panther assault team is fully assembled, awaiting orders. Team Leader Lin? Zhao Donglai and Ethan were stunned, speechless. They had no idea that before becoming an undercover police officer, I was the very first team leader and the only female team leader in the history of the Black Panther team. This Special Forces unit was established by my own hands, and they only obeyed my orders. I pointed at Zhao Donglai and the special police officers accompanying him. Disarm them, guard them strictly. Black Panther gestured. More than a dozen members of the assault team silently swarmed in, moving like lightning, without a sound. In the blink of an eye, Zhao Donglai and his subordinates were disarmed and completely subdued. Zhao Donglai trembled with rage. Lin Zio, are you rebelling? Rebelling? I stepped forward, standing before him, looking down haughtily. Chief Zhao, it seems you've misunderstood something. I am not negotiating with you, I am giving orders. My gaze swept over Ethan and Sophia. Both were stiff with fear, especially Ethan, who had completely collapsed, slumping onto the floor, his pants soaked. A horrible stench emanated from him. What a pathetic sight. Wasn't this the man I had once given all my love to? He turned out to be nothing but a complete coward. As for Governor Sue, I paused for a moment, wiping the blood from my hand with a tissue from the table. He will soon come here himself to explain everything to me. Below the apartment complex, the wailing of police sirens and the thunderous roar of military vehicle engines echoed like a storm. The entire building, even the surrounding residential area, was tightly surrounded by Black Panther forces. There was absolutely no loophole, no escape. Ethan looked out the window. When he saw the impenetrable defenses, his heart shattered. He knelt and crawled to my feet, snot and tears streaming down his face. Zio, I was wrong, I was truly wrong. It was all Sophia. She seduced me, she forced me to send Lily away. Everything was her doing, I had nothing to do with it. He clung to my leg, pleading desperately like a beaten dog. I looked down at him. Seeing that repulsive face, I felt only extreme disgust, bordering on nausea. I kicked him away forcefully. Nothing to do with it. Ethan, do you think I'm a fool? Without your signature, who would dare touch my daughter? Without your permission, who would dare take the medicine I prepared? And now you want to blame all the sins on a woman to wash your hands clean of responsibility. Do you even deserve to be called a man? Each of my words was like a dagger plunging into his heart. He fell back onto the floor, silent, with nothing left to say. I no longer cared about him. I walked over to Sophia. She was still clutching her severed finger, trembling, huddled in the corner of the wall. It's your turn now, I said. Tell me, where is my daughter's pericardium? Sophia looked up, her eyes filled with bitter hatred. I don't know anything. You'll never get anything out of my mouth. Sophia remained stubborn, resisting firmly. I laughed. I pulled a chair over and sat opposite her. From my pocket, I took out a small voice recorder and pressed play. From the speaker came Ethan's familiar voice. Darling, don't worry, the gene therapy vial Lin Zio left, I will definitely get it back for you. And as for that girl's heart valve, I've already contacted the doctor. The surgery will be next week. By then, your heart condition will be completely cured. We'll be together forever. This was a recording of a conversation I had just recovered from Ethan's phone. He had deleted it, but I still found it. Sophia's face immediately turned white. She stared at Ethan, eyes wide, completely disbelieving her ears. As for Ethan, he seemed to have lost all his bones, collapsing bonelessly onto the floor. I turned off the recorder. Well, are you still going to say you don't know anything? My voice was light but cold, like the biting wind of a winter forest in December. Sophia, my patience has limits. All the pain my daughter has suffered, I will return to you 100-fold, 1,000-fold. I slowly bent down, picking up the blood-stained fruit knife. So where should I start? This face, perhaps, or that filthy heart of yours, grafted from my daughter's organ? Sophia completely collapsed. She screamed and writhed, trying to get away from me. Stay away, you're crazy, you're insane. My father is the governor, he won't let you get away with this. Governor? I sneered. Do you think he has time to worry about you right now? Just as I finished speaking, Black Panther approached, whispering a few words in my ear. I nodded, stood up, and walked towards the window downstairs. A convoy of black cars was slowly approaching. The lead car bore the license plate of the Provincial Party Committee office. Governor Sue had arrived, faster than I expected. The convoy stopped below. A man with salt and pepper hair, still very robust, stepped out of the car, escorted by his secretaries. He looked up at the floor where I stood, his deep eyes filled with pressure and menace. I yanked the window open wide. Cold wind swept into the room, making my hair fly wildly. I looked at the man downstairs and offered a chilling, bone-deep smile. Governor Sue, long time no see. Though my voice wasn't loud, in the quiet night it carried far. Governor Sue narrowed his eyes slightly. It was clear he recognized me, or more accurately, had investigated me long ago. Comrade Lin Zio, what is the meaning of this? His voice was stiff, full of the arrogance of someone in power. You unilaterally deployed the military, apprehended state officials, and even injured others. Do you truly hold the law in contempt? I gave a faint, mocking smile. Governor Sue, you want to talk about the law with me? Then when your daughter stole my daughter's life-saving medicine, when she took organs from that child's body, did you think about the law then? When you abused your power to cover up her crimes, did you think about the law at all? When you colluded with my scoundrel of a husband to steal everything from me, did you think about the law? Each of my questions was like a bullet aimed straight at his face. Governor Sue's face gradually turned ashen, distorted, insolent. My daughter is naturally kind-hearted. How could she do such things? You are the crazy one, abusing your authority, beating people. Still trying to justify himself. How ridiculous and despicable. I didn't want to waste any more words on him. I turned to Black Panther. Bring those two down, let their whole family reunite. Ethan and Sophia were dragged out like dead dogs. Zhao Donglai was also escorted along. I didn't go down. I just stood by the window, coldly watching the tragicomedy unfold below. Governor Sue saw his daughter in such a pathetic state, saw her severed, blood-soaked finger. His eyes turned bloodshot. He pointed up, cursing directly at me. Madwoman, you are truly insane. I will make you rot in jail. I will make you pay a heavy price. Sophia also cried desperately. Daddy, save me. She wants to kill me. She even wants to dig out my heart. Ethan prostrated himself on the ground, kowtowing repeatedly, begging, Governor, please save me. It's all Lin Zio's doing. It has nothing to do with me. Truly a perfect act. Around them, the Black Panther operatives stood still as statues, their faces devoid of expression. Only I knew that bullets were already chambered in their guns. With just a word from me, those people in the courtyard below would be annihilated into a bloody mess. Governor Sue was still shouting hysterically. A secretary standing behind him quickly pulled out his phone, seemingly making a call. Calling for help? Useless. I've already made my move, which means cutting off all their escape routes. Sure enough, moments later, the secretary's face turned as pale as a leaf. He hung up and whispered a few words into Governor Sue's ear. The governor's furious shouts immediately ceased. He looked at me with a face that couldn't believe the truth. For the first time, his eyes revealed sheer terror. Finally, he realized something. The person standing before him was not an ordinary female police officer, nor was she a disposable pawn. She was a force that could shake this entire city even the entire province. He was truly scared now. Instead of cursing, he began to plead. Comrade Lin Zio, let's discuss this. Perhaps this is just a misunderstanding. Can we sit down and talk reasonably? Talk, I smiled faintly. You want to negotiate now it's too late. I took out my phone and called a central number. The call was quickly connected. Chief, this is Lin Zio. I'm sure you're already aware of the situation. I only need one thing, justice. If City A cannot give it to me, if this entire province cannot give it to me, then I will claim it myself. On the other end, a deep, warm voice, though aged, full of authority, resonated. Little Lin, you've suffered enough. Rest assured, the state will not let you and your daughter bear this monstrous injustice. I have dispatched the Supreme Special Investigation Team from the Supreme People's Procuratorate to City A. No matter who they are, no matter how powerful, they will not be able to conceal their crimes. Now, hand the phone to that Sue fellow." I said nothing more, simply threw the phone out the window. Black Panther reached out, caught it, and handed it to Governor Sue. His hands trembled violently as he brought the phone to his ear. I didn't know what was said on the other end, but his legs gave way and he sank to his knees. The phone clattered coldly onto the pavement. His entire body seemed to be drained of life, his eyes vacant, his face ashen like burnt ash. The Supreme People's Procuratorate Special Investigation Team acted with extreme urgency. They immediately boarded a special plane to City A that very night. Leading them was Chief Prosecutor Lei, renowned as the iron-faced King of Hell. Instantly, Governor Sue, Zhao Donglai, Ethan, Sophia, and all related individuals were arrested. The Morning Star Rehabilitation Center was immediately sealed off. Not a single person from its management or staff could escape. Every child imprisoned inside was rescued. The den of crime that had been deeply entrenched in City A for many years was finally completely eradicated. As for me, from beginning to end, I stayed by Lily's hospital bed. She still showed no signs of waking. She lay motionless on the bed, like a fragile doll, small and painfully weak. The doctor informed me that her condition was very complex. The removed pericardium could be surgically restored. However, the swapped gene therapy drug had caused permanent damage to her body. She would likely suffer countless aftereffects in the future. It could even affect her lifespan. I clutched her cold hands tightly. My heart ached as if torn apart. My Lily, my treasure, whom I had sacrificed my life to protect, had been shattered by the very person I trusted most, betrayed. Chief Prosecutor Lee, the head of the Special Investigation Team, visited me once. He told me that the pericardium transplanted into Sophia was, in fact, my daughter's pericardium. The surgeon who performed the operation was the city's most renowned cardiovascular surgeon, contacted and invited by Ethan through Zhao Donglai to perform the surgery. As for the money I had left behind, most of it had been squandered by Ethan and Sophia. They splurged on supercars, luxury brands, and traveled the world. They lived a life of extravagance and frivolity while my daughter struggled in a dark hell. Chief Lee also informed me that there were many shady bribery transactions between Ethan and Governor Sue. They used my name to scam and profit, accumulating a huge fortune. All of it is backed by concrete evidence. They will never escape justice in this lifetime. Upon hearing this, my expression remained unchanged. I only asked one question: "What about Sophia?" Chief Lee hesitated for a moment, then replied, "She has a very severe congenital heart disease. Doctors concluded she's not healthy enough for detention. She's being monitored at the hospital, not fit for imprisonment." HMPH*, a perfect excuse. I stood up. "Thank you for this information, Chief Prosecutor Lee. I will handle the rest myself." I left the hospital room. Immediately, the Black Panther operatives stationed outside quickly followed. "Team Leader Lin, where are we going?" I glanced out the window. Night had fallen and a cold wind howled. "To visit Miss Sue, the one who isn't fit for imprisonment." The hospital where Sophia was being treated was extremely heavily guarded. 2 police officers stood watch at the entrance, but they couldn't stop me. The Black Panther men quickly subdued them. I entered Sophia's room without any obstruction. She was lying in bed watching TV. It seemed her recovery was not bad. Seeing me, she startled, instinctively reaching to press the nurse call button. I approached and pulled out the emergency call cord. "Miss Sue, long time no see." I pulled up a chair and sat beside her bed. Sophia looked at me with fear, her entire body recoiling, shrinking into the corner of the bed. What do you want to do? I'm telling you, there are surveillance cameras here. Don't make any rash moves." Surveillance cameras? I glanced at the corner of the wall. Black Panther had already taken care of it. Now no one would know what happened in this room. "I'm not going to do anything," I smiled, then slowly took a small surgical knife, borrowed from the emergency room, from my jacket pocket. Its small, sharp blade reflected the light, a cold, icy gleam. "I've only come to reclaim what rightfully belongs to my daughter." Sophia's eyes widened, staring at the knife in my hand. She trembled, the blanket shaking slightly with her. You don't come closer. Save me, help," she screamed and wailed frantically. Unfortunately, the 2 police officers outside could no longer hear anything. I stood up, taking one step after another towards her. "Don't be afraid," I said, my voice soft like the cold wind of a winter night. "This surgery will be very quick. I promise I won't make you suffer much pain." After all, when my daughter had her pericardium surgery, they didn't even use anesthesia. These words were like a bucket of cold water poured over Sophia, completely extinguishing her last fragile ray of hope. On her face, only despair and extreme helplessness remained. Leaning closer, I whispered in her ear, "You know, besides my shooting skills, my greatest talent is surgery." 10 years undercover in the drug trafficking organization, to gain their trust, I personally dissected no less than 100 corpses. My understanding of the human body's structure is even more thorough than that of surgical doctors. So rest assured, I will precisely remove every single millimeter of what doesn't belong to you from your chest. Nothing more, nothing less. Having said that, I didn't even bother to look at her desperate, panicked face anymore. I raised the scalpel in my hand, its blade pointing directly at the hideous scar on her chest, exactly like the scar on my daughter's chest. Then I slowly lowered my hand. I no longer remember how I left that hospital room, only that both my hands were covered in blood. The Black Panther men helped me, taking me back to Lily's hospital room. I washed my hands, changed into clean clothes, and then sat down by my daughter's bed, as if nothing had ever happened. The next day, news spread everywhere. Governor Sue's daughter, Sophia, had suddenly passed away due to heart disease, emergency treatment unsuccessful. Governor Sue in detention, his hair turned white overnight. Ethan was sentenced to life imprisonment. All assets in his name were confiscated and transferred to Lily as inheritance, including the penthouse apartment that Sophia had brazenly occupied. Zhao Donglai and all officials, doctors, and staff of the Morning Star Center received appropriate punishment. Everything seemed to have ended. The sky over City A even seemed bluer, but only I knew that all they had paid was nowhere near the suffering my daughter had endured. I stayed by Lily's side constantly, never leaving for a moment, feeding her myself, bathing her, talking to her. Although she remained mostly in a coma, I had invited the best cardiologists on the planet. They worked together to establish a meticulous and comprehensive treatment plan for my daughter. The surgery was successful. To restore her pericardium, they used artificial materials. However, her health remained very weak. The wounds in her heart were even harder to heal. Every time she opened her eyes, she remained silent. Her eyes were vacant, she looked at no one, spoke to no one, not even to me, her mother. The doctor said it was the clearest sign of severe post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. It would take a lot of time and endless patience to gradually heal her. I was not afraid. I had plenty of time and plenty of patience, because I owed her so much love and kindness, and I would use the rest of my life to make it up to her. I submitted my resignation, abandoning all the glory and status of the past. I was no longer Officer Lin Zio, nor the Black Panther team leader. I was simply a mother, the mother of a little girl named Lin Nyan. I sold that disgusting penthouse, the lair that Sophia had once occupied. Then I bought a small house with a garden in the suburbs. In that place, the atmosphere was incredibly peaceful. The sunlight was always warm and gentle. I personally planted the garden full of sunflowers, Lily's favorite flower in the whole world. I brought her home. Every day, I stayed close to her. I read fairy tales to her, sat beside her drawing pictures, helped her walk in the garden. At first, she resisted fiercely. She didn't speak, wouldn't even look at me. Even a gentle, accidental touch made her tremble and recoil. My heart felt pierced by 1,000 needles then, but I absolutely would not let go. I repeated it again and again. "Lily, don't be afraid. Mom is right here. No one can hurt you anymore." I put the platinum necklace back around her neck. Inside the pendant, I had placed a newly sprouted baby tooth. I found it in her old clothes box. It was the baby tooth she had lost when she was 6. That day, she clutched the necklace, sobbing heartbreakingly. It was the first time since returning from the rehabilitation center that Lily had cried out loud. I held her close, crying with her. We cried together to release the accumulated resentment, pain, and longing. From that day on, she gradually grew stronger. She could smile at me. She used her soft voice to call me Mom. She voluntarily took my hand and pulled me into the garden to watch butterflies. I realized my Lily was slowly recovering. A year later, Lily's health had almost completely recovered. Her mental state was also much more stable. She began to return to school. Though quiet, she could communicate normally with her friends. Her drawing skills progressed rapidly. In her paintings, there were no longer gloomy colors, but instead bright sunlight, blooming flowers, and smiles. We visited Ethan once in prison. He had aged noticeably, his hair almost completely white. When he saw me and Lily, he broke down crying. He kept repeating, "I'm sorry," but from beginning to end, Lily never looked at him once. She clutched my hand, turned her back, and walked away. I didn't look back either. Some people, some things, once gone, can never return. Several years later, Lily was admitted to her dream university. Her major was fine arts, and she had to move to another city to study. The day I saw her off at the airport, Lily hugged me tightly, tears streaming down her face. "Mommy, I'll miss you so much." I smiled, gently stroking her head. "I'll miss you too. Remember to take good care of yourself." She nodded, then turned and walked into the security check area. The necklace around her neck glittered in the early morning sunlight. It emitted a warm glow, like sacred maternal love throughout the years. I stood still, watching her back until she disappeared into the crowd, out of sight. A silent tear rolled down my cheek. For 10 years, struggling on the battlefield, I had protected the homeland behind me. When I returned with hatred and blood, I protected the treasure in the palm of my hand. My mission was finally complete. My phone rang. It was Chief Zhang. "Lin Xiao, come back. The team needs you. The country needs you." I looked up at the large screen at the airport, the plane slowly taking off. I smiled faintly. "Okay, Mom."